Okay, so you can see my screen and share my screen. So different people are getting different things from Bhumi Devi. So let's continue in that theme. After this, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka as well as the inhabitants of Vidyadhar Loka transformed the great sage Kapila into a calf and making the whole sky into a pot, they milked out specific yogic mystic powers, beginning with Anima. Indeed, the inhabitants of Vidyadhar Loka acquired the art of flying in the sky. The inhabitants of Siddhalok and Vidyadhar Lok are naturally endowed with mystic power, yogic powers by which they can not only fly in outer space without a vehicle, but can also fly from one planet to another simply by exerting their will. Just as fish can swim within water, the residents of Vidyadhar Lok can swim in the ocean of air. As far as the inhabitants of Siddhalok are concerned, they are endowed with all mystic powers. The yogis in this planet, practice the eightfold yogic mysticism, namely Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharan, Dhyan, and Samadhi. By regularly practicing the yogic processes one after another, the yogis attain various perfections. They can become smaller than the smallest, heavier than the heaviest, etc. They can even manufacture a planet, get whatever they like, and control whatever man they want. All the residents of Siddhalok are naturally endowed with these mystic powers. It is certainly a very wonderful thing if we see a person or planet flying in the sky without a vehicle. But in Vidyadhar Lok, such flying is a commonplace as a bird's flying in the sky. So people are flying in the sky, just as birds are flying, like Superman we have. Similarly, in Siddhalok, all the inhabitants are great yogis, perfect in mystic powers. The name of Kapila Muni is significant in this verse because he was the expounder of the Sankhya philosophical system and his father Karda Muni was a great yogi and mystic. Indeed, Karda Muni prepared a great airplane which was as large as a small town and had various gardens, palatial buildings, servants, and maidservants. With all this paraphernalia, Kapila Dev's mother Devahuti and his father Karda Muni traveled all over the universe and visited different planets. So it was a flying spaceship which was very big, which had all gardens and everything. So, but is devotee interested in mystic powers or not? What is the and why not? He is not interested. Any suggestions?
He's not interested
Why?
because to get mystic powers means you want to get fame, popularity.
Hmm.
That devotee is not interested in, and most of the technological advancement have already done. I mean, whatever mystic powers give, the technological advancement have already done that. So why waste time in getting some siddhis?
Okay.
Should get Krishna Prem.
So even if you have this mystic yogic powers, you are still in the cycle of birth and death. So you can't. You still have to die, and you can do some wonderful things. But you can't escape the miseries, and the heart will not be satisfied without Krishna Prem. So, who was offered mystic powers by who?
Kulavich Sridhar.
Kolavaj Sridhar, when he came to Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu said, I will give you the eight mystic perfections. And he said, no, no, I don't want this. Why are you trying to deceive me? It will be simply a distraction for me. I don't want this. So, nowadays there is so many mystic powers like that through technology. People can fly, 300 people can fly in the sky simultaneously at 30,000 feet. In Vidyadhar Lok, they can fly without any plane. So if you see people flying in the sky. So, okay, so that is not desirable. Of course, you can impress people and become very popular. Right? If you can fly like that, do the such siddhis, then all the reporters will come and they will ask you, how did you attain the siddhi? Your picture will be on all the magazines and everything. So people will worship you as God, and you'll get so many followers with all this siddhis. So, okay. So next verse. Anything else? Anybody like to say? Others also, the inhabitants of planets known as Kim Purush Lok, made the demon Maya into a calf. So everybody is getting what they want, and they milked out of mystic powers by which one can disappear immediately from one another's vision and again appear in a different form. So you can disappear with this mystic power, you can disappear and come back in another form. It is said that the inhabitants of Kim Purush Loka can perform many wonderful mystic demonstrations. In other words, they can exhibit as many wonderful things as one can imagine. The inhabitants of this planet can do whatever they like or whatever they imagine. Such powers are also mystic powers. The possessions of such mystic powers is called Ishita. The demons generally learn such mystic powers by the practice of yoga. So they can disguise, like Putana disguised herself. They can disappear and appear. In the Dashama Skanda, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a vivid description of how the demons appear before Krishna in various wonderful forms. For instance, Bakasur appeared before Krishna and his coward friends, boyfriends, as a gigantic crane. While present on this planet, Lord Krishna had to fight with many demons who could exhibit the wonderful mystic powers of Kim Purush Loka. Although the inhabitants of Kim Purush Loka are naturally endowed with such powers, one can attain these powers on this planet by performing different yogic practices. Okay, so there is. So every demon had a form, like somebody Vatsasur took the form of a calf, Bakasur, Aghasur, like that of a snake, python, like that, and Putana, beautiful lady. Everybody is disguising themselves. But they were all killed by Krishna. So, against Krishna's mystic abilities, Krishna is Yogeshwar, nothing works. So, they are like what? Brahma's mystic abilities, like what? What is it compared to?
Warm in the daylight, like the
Yeah, a glowworm.
glowworm. Yeah.
Yeah, glowworm in presence of sunshine. So, how it can be like. So, we have some abilities, they are also coming from Krishna, but Krishna is the powerhouse, is the source of all the. So, we have some, Krishna gives us some. So we feel very, but against the powerhouse, Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya. Samagrasya means total, in totality, infinitely. And Krishna also does not know his power, how powerful he is. And his power is increasing, they say like that. He can do anything. He can do absolutely anything. So they asked Prabhupada, can God create a stone that he cannot lift? What did Prabhupada say? He can.
Yes, he can create the stone, but when he wants to lift it, he will lift it.
Next moment he decides to lift it, he lifts it. So Krishna, because if you say yes, then he cannot lift the stone. If you say no, means he can't create a stone. So it's both ways. But yeah, he can do. He can do. So then the yakshas, rakshasas, ghosts, and witches who are habituated to eating flesh. Sometimes they say how Lord Krishna doesn't know the taste that Radharani is feeling. He's God, he should know everything. How Krishna doesn't know the taste of what Radharani feels? Yes, he doesn't know, but then he comes as Lord Chaitanya and he knows. So, like that. Then the yakshas, rakshasas, ghosts, and witches who are habituated to eating flesh transformed Lord Shiva's incarnation, Rudra, Bhutanath, into a calf and milked out beverages made of blood and put them into pot made of skulls. There are some types of living entities in the form of human beings whose living conditions and eatables are most abominable. Generally, they eat flesh and fermented blood, which is mentioned in this verse as Shataja Savam. The leaders of such degraded men, known as yakshas, rakshasas, bhutas, and pisachas, are all in mode of ignorance. They have been placed under the control of Rudra. Rudra is the incarnation of Lord Shiva and is in charge of the mode of ignorance in material nature. Another name of Lord Shiva is Bhutanath, meaning master of ghosts. Rudra was born from between Brahma's eyes, and when Brahma was very angry at the four Kumaras. So he is in charge of all the ghost goblins like that. And they drink, they eat flesh and drink blood, fermented blood. Means after a long time, fermentation happens of blood. Like wine is nothing but fermented grapes, right? Fermented. So they are like all these things. So nowadays also people are eating flesh, right? So thereafter, cobras and snakes without hoods, large snakes, scorpions, and many other poisonous animals took poison out of the planet Earth as their milk and kept this poison in snake holes. They had made a calf out of takshak. Within the material world, there are various types of living entities, and different types of reptiles and scorpions mentioned in this verse are also provided with their sustenance by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everybody gets their food by arrangement of Krishna. The point is that everyone is taking his eatables from the planet Earth. According to one's association with material qualities, one develops a certain type of character. Vaya panam bhujanganam. If one feeds a serpent milk, the snake will simply increase his venom. However, if one supplies milk to a talented sage or saint, the sage will develop finer brain tissues by which he can contemplate higher spiritual life. Thus, the Lord is supplying everyone food, but according to the living entity's association with the modes of material nature, the living entity develops a specific character. So, snake does not develop spiritual intelligence, but human beings, if they are given milk, then they will develop finer brain tissues to understand spiritual life. Okay. Same milk, but depending on the body, the snake's venom will increase. That's what they're saying. So, depending on our character and our nature. So, it's called swabhav. Swabhav means particular characteristic and nature. Everybody has certain inclination and certain, idiosyncrasies. Everybody has certain habits and certain way of thinking, and all this is because of past conditioning. The four-legged animals like the cows made a calf out of the bull who carries Lord Shiva and made a milking pot out of the forest. Thus they got fresh green grasses to eat. Ferocious animals like tigers transformed a lion into a calf, and thus they were able to get flesh for milk. The birds made a calf out of Garuda and took milk from the planet Earth in the form of moving insects and non-moving plants and grasses. So Earth is giving everything, insects and grass and everything. So there are many carnivorous birds descended from Garuda, the winged carrier of Lord Vishnu. Indeed, there is a particular type of bird that is very fond of eating monkeys. Eagles are fond of eating goats. And of course, many birds eat only fruits and berries. Therefore, the word charam refers to moving animals, and acharam referring to grasses, fruits, and vegetables are mentioned in this verse. The trees made a calf out of the banyan tree, and thus they derived milk in the form of many delicious uses. The mountains transformed the Himalayas into a calf, and thus the milk variety of minerals into a pot made of the peak of the hills. Okay. The planet Earth supplied everyone his respective food. During the time of King Prthu, the earth was fully under the control of the king. Thus, all the inhabitants of the earth could get their food supply by creating various types of cows and putting that particular type of milk in various pots. This is the evidence that the Lord supplies food to everyone, as confirmed in the Vedas, Eko Bahunam Yovidadhati Kaman. Although the Lord is one, He is supplying all necessities to everyone through the medium of planet Earth. There are different types of living entities on different planets, and they all derive their eatables from their planets in different forms. On the basis of these descriptions, how can one assume that there is no living entity on the moon? Every moon is earthly, being composed of the five elements. Every planet produces different types of food according to the needs of its residents. According to Vedic Shastra, it is not true that the moon does not produce food or that there is no living entity living there. So every planet has means for sustenance of people living there, living entities there. My dear Vidura, the chief of the Kurus, in this way King Prithhu and all others who subsist on food created different types of calves and milked out their respective eatables. Thus they received their various foodstuffs which were symbolized as milk. Thereafter King Prithu was very satisfied with the planet Earth, for she sufficiently supplied all food to various living entities. Thus he developed an affection for planet Earth just as if she were his own daughter. So Prithu Maharaj, who was very angry now, was very pleased with Earth because Earth is providing. After this, the king of all kings, Maharaj Prithu, leveled all rough places on the surface of the globe by breaking up the hills with the strength of his bow. By his grace, the surface of globe almost became flat. That's what Earth had requested Prithu Maharaj to do, so that when rainwater falls, then the rain can be retained like that. Generally, the mountainous and hilly portions of the earth are made flat by the striking of thunderbolts. Generally, this is the business of King Indra of the heavenly planets. So Indra with his Vajra levels all the hills. But King Prithu, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, did not wait for King Indra to break up the hills and mountains, but did so himself by using his strong bow. To all the citizens of the state, King Prithu was as good as a father. Thus, he was visibly engaged in giving them proper subsistence and proper employment for subsistence. After leveling the surface of the globe, he earmarked different places for residential quarters, inasmuch as they were desirable. So he provided for all people's necessities and made sure they had employment and everything like that, and residences. In this way, the king founded many types of villages, settlements, and towns, and built forts, residences for cowards, men, stables for the animals, and palaces, places for royal camps, mining places, agricultural towns, and mountain villages. Before the reign of King Prithu, there was no planned arrangement for different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, etc. Everything was scattered, and everyone constructed his residential quarters according to his own convenience. However, since King Prithu, plans were made for towns and villages. From this statement, it appears that town and city planning is not new, but has been coming down since the time of King Prithu. So previous to Prithu Maharaj, they would construct their residence anywhere and anywhere without any consideration. But now, after King Prithu's reign, then there was planning. In India, we can see regular planning methods evident in very old cities. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many descriptions of such ancient cities. Even 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna's capital Dwarka was well planned, and similar other cities. Who was the architect of Dwarka? There was some architect. Vishwakarma or somebody who.
Vishwakarma, I think, yeah.
Vishwakarma. Mathura and Hastinapur, now New Delhi, were also well planned. Thus, the planning of cities and towns is not a modern innovation, but was existing in bygone ages. So now he is going to do 100 sacrifice, horse sacrifice. So, we will. Any comments anybody has? Okay, so we will continue few verses. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, King Prithu initiated the performance of 100 horse sacrifices at the spot where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. So there was this yagna, uh, Ashwamedha, which is forbidden in Kali Yuga, but they used to do it previously. And we know in yagna, if the animal is sacrificed, then they get a higher form of life. Either they get human form of life, they go back home, back to God. It's something like that. They chant mantras, and so they were sacrificing 100 horses, which may sound very cruel, but this all is thing not for the devotees. So for the devotees, the sacrifice is chanting of the holy name. And then this was all in previous ages, so it's not recommended now, and we should not do anything. Five things are prohibited in Kali Yuga: Ashwamedham Gavalambam, uh, horse sacrifice, cow sacrifice, it offering of oblations, meat in oblations to forefathers, begetting child in one's brother's wife, and Ashwamedha Gavalambam, Palapetrikam, and what is that? Fourth thing, sannyas.
Ekadandi sannyas.
Ekadandi sannyas. Is five. There's a verse like that. Ekadandi sannyas. Tridandi sannyas is okay. Prabhupada himself gave so much. So many. Ekadandi means it's like Mayavad sannyas. So like that. This piece of land is known as Brahmavarta, and it was controlled by Swayambhu Manu. So he is performing the sacrifices at the bank of river Saraswati. When the most powerful Indra, the king of heaven, saw this, he considered the fact that King Prthu was going to exceed him in fruitive activities. So Indra became very disturbed because maybe he will become powerful by the performance of this yagna. What happens is one gets immense power or something like that. So Indra thought that he will take my position. Thus Indra could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. In the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. So everybody is in competition and everybody wants to dominate others. This envy is also found in the personality of the King of Heaven, Indra. As evident from revealed scriptures, Indra was several times envious of many persons. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities. So Indra becomes envious. Somebody has something more. What is the reason for envy when somebody has something more than you, or somebody is given more recognition than you? That's envy, right? Because how can somebody be more important than me or something like that? Somebody has more talent than you, then we become envious.
So there is jealousy and then there is envy, right? So jealousy is like competition, but envy is like you want to hurt the other person. So
So it can result into violence if it becomes very. Okay, so there's jealousy also. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities in the execution of yoga practices or siddhis. So Indra was envious. He wants to be always important, right? So he cannot tolerate. Like in Govardhan Leela also, he was neglected. So he could not tolerate that. Indeed, he could not tolerate them and he desired to break them up. He was envious due to fear that those who perform great sacrifices for the execution of mystic yoga might occupy his seat. Since no one in the material world can tolerate another's advancement, everyone in the material world is called Matsara, envious. And we are envious of Krishna also. So all this envy is coming here. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is therefore said that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who are completely nirmatsara, non-envious. In other words, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. So we should take inspiration if somebody is doing a lot of service. So we should take inspiration instead of being envious and saying why is like that. Is that we should take inspiration. We should do more. We can follow that example of that person and make that person our role model. Hero. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. We all want hero in our life. So instead of being envious of those who are better, then make them hero. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. However, when one is envious of his competitor, that is material, the demigods posted in the material world are not exempt from envy. Because demigods are not completely purified, so they also have envy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somebody says envy is like drinking poison and wishing that other person dies, right? So we are drinking poison, we are thinking that the other person die. Oh, so
yeah, and envy means no vacancy in
no
the spiritual
vacancy.
world. Envy towards Krishna is shown as envy towards others.
So to counteract envy, one has to be satisfied in one's heart. One is satisfied in one's heart, then one will not be envious. When we are not satisfied in our heart, then we are envious. So if we are satisfied with bhakti to Krishna, chanting of the holy name, then we'll become non-envious. Sometimes we think, well, this person doesn't deserve. How is he getting all this, praise and everything like that? So, yeah, in the material world, things are not always just, and people get according to their karma also. Some people become very popular, even though they may not be qualified, and things like that. So many people are like that. So, it's like, yeah, it's our past karma also coming into picture and things like that. So not everything is just in this material world. It is just from a bigger picture, but for to us it may appear unjust. But from a bigger point of view, from then it is all. So that is also there. Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as the Super Soul and is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prthu. So, to counteract envy, we should serve the person whom we are envious of, like in devotees circle, and see the good qualities of the person. Remember the good qualities of the person, and yeah, we should chant Hare Krishna. And then also we can give up envy when we become satisfied in our heart. And if we appreciate others who are doing bhakti, even if we can't do what the very thing that they are doing, then we also get, we also advance in devotional service. Just by praising those who are doing services which we can't do or their sacrifice, then we also get, you know, credit. So it's, I mean, in material world, it's all about me, right? Everybody's has their own center of, so everybody's thinking, why not me? Why not me? So this is the problem. So I'm very insignificant. I will die in a few years, and nobody will even notice. And my this thing will become a name in the history. Like so many people have died, and we don't even know how many people have died in so many. So my name will also become like that. So why I'm trying to become very famous and like that? I should just do my Krishna consciousness nicely. And if, yeah, so he was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prthu. Who? Vishnu. Okay, so we will just read this. Our last verse. In this verse, the word Shakshat is significant. Prthu Maharaj was Shaktavesh avatar, incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Actually, Prthu Maharaj was a living entity, but he acquired specific powers from Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, however, is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus belongs to the category of Vishnu Tattva. Maharaj Prthu belonged to Jiva Tattva. The Vishnu Tattva indicates God, whereas the Jiva Tattva indicates part and parcel of God. When God's part and parcel is especially empowered, he is called Shaktavesh avatar. Lord Vishnu is herein described as Hari Ishvara. The Lord is so kind that he takes all miserable condition away from his devotees. Hari. Consequently, he is called Hari. He is described as Ishvara because he can do whatever he likes. He is the supreme controller. The supreme Ishvara Purushottam is Lord Krishna. He exhibits his power as Ishvara or the supreme controller when he assures his devotee in Bhagavad Gita 1866, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. He can immediately make his devotee immune from all reaction caused by sinful life if the devotee simply surrenders unto him. Immediately he can wipe out lifetimes of karma, millions of lifetimes of karma for one who surrenders. And we can say, how is that? Well, Krishna can do anything. He can do anything and everything, and nobody is there to question him. So he's described, and he says that I will do that. He is described here as Sarvatma, meaning that he is present in everyone's heart as the super soul, and as such he is the supreme teacher of everyone. Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. If we are fortunate enough to take the lessons given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, our lives become immediately successful. No one can give better instructions to human society than Lord Krishna. Okay, so we'll stop here. For today, I have to go somewhere, that's why. But if you want to continue, we can. Somebody wants to read and continue, that's also fine. Or you want to chant, whatever. Is it okay to chant, or you want to chant all, everybody? Or you want to read more, then you can read also. Then just let me know where you read till, and then I will read myself. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.